College is a place to get a chance. College is a way to get opportunities that you might not have otherwise. It doesn't guarantee anything. I'd say it's slightly more risky than investing in the stock market, possibly a lot more risky. Because when you try college, you've got to continually get things right. When you're investing, you've got to learn the basics and then go with it. College is a chance to level up. College is a chance to get opportunity. College is a chance to be better. You have to take all those chances. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever go. I think there's a lot of reasons to go. I don't know that it was the right choice for me. It's like, do you want to go to college? If you're working on your college applications and you want to go to college, you should totally go to college. I mean, college can be great. And if you have other things you want to do, like, you can do those too later on in life. That's okay. You can do more than one thing in your life. And college can be a good first start. It can also really, really fuck you up because it just depends on your previous life situation. Like, if you have the funds ahead of time, I mean, okay, now you're not setting yourself up for dealing with student loans in the future, which is really, really dangerous. It was kind of funny. I applied for a master's degree because I didn't really know what I was going to do at the time. And I got into the master's program, and my brother sent me a video of him, like, balancing on a slack line. He was shirtless, wearing sunglasses. There was a bunch of hot girls around in bikinis in a park, and he was, like, eating watermelon, balancing on a slack line, and he's like, "Hey, Josh, you work too much. Can you come visit me during the summer?" So I called him up, and I said, "I'm moving." I don't speak another language. I've really considered working on learning another language, but I can't see the value in it for me at this point in my life. For some people, learning another language is an extremely rewarding thing because it helps you see the world from different angles. It's almost like the way when you read a really good book, you kind of experience the world a different way. The same thing happens when you learn a new language. But at the same time, it can kind of take you out of the space that you're in your own world. So I'm at a point where I'm trying to kind of focus in on a couple smaller things, and languages are kind of a really good way to spread out. I don't know if I'm on the spectrum. I don't really think it's a big deal one way or the other. You could say everyone is on the spectrum in a way. I don't mind the spectrum questions. I mean, I act different. Everybody acts different. You always get questions for things like that. One thing you'll notice actually is people, as they get more stressed, will appear to be more on the spectrum. It changes throughout your life. There's people that seem really on the spectrum, and then they get improved health, they get a better living situation, and they seem less on it. And then some people are permanently one way or the other. It's really just people are weird and different. We act a whole bunch of different ways. If you want courage, you've got to do dangerous things. And that's not dangerous as in physically dangerous or socially dangerous. Could be those things, but you've got to do dangerous things as in your mind registers them as a slight danger and you do them anyways. And it really does have to do with what's inside your mind, not what's outside. So if you want to become more courageous, you consistently prove to yourself that you can do things outside the bounds of where you are now. So whatever you perceive yourself as, if you do something just a little bit outside the boundary of where you're at, you will prove to yourself that you're capable of going outside of your boundaries. And courage generally implies someone that's able to go do something out of the ordinary. They're brave enough to try it. And then there's a side note to that, which is sometimes we go out of our boundaries so consistently that we exhaust ourselves. So if that's the case, then what you want to do is you want to stick inside your boundaries to nurture yourself and care for yourself until you're strong enough to go outside of your boundaries. It's usually one or the other. It's usually like either training yourself to do big, bold things by doing big, bold things, or enabling yourself to do big, bold things by caring for yourself. So survival mode is legit addictive. You usually have sort of a sensation of, I have all my hands on the dials at all times. And that's actually like a pretty like big high because you want to be in control and you've got this chance to like try everything you possibly can. And that's what survival's all about. But it drains you. It tears you apart. It blinds you because people that are in survival mode are only looking at a limited set of things. So their vision over time gets more and more focused, but it also, they get so exhausted it starts to get blurry. So you have to let yourself get out of survival mode and take care of yourself, and then like use survival mode as a temporary thing. Think of a cheetah doing a sprint. Like that's the way people are supposed to be when they use survival mode. It's not supposed to be on all the time. I do practice fasting. Food was a pretty rough issue for me for a long time. I had diet issues that like I had a lot of food sensitivities. It's very difficult to find foods that worked for me. Now, currently I live off beef, salt, and water, which I know it sounds insane, I know I should be dead, and thousands of other people do it and they're just fine. It helps with the current situation that I'm in of like, I've got so many food sensitivities that it's very difficult to find things that work for me. As I've been on that diet, which has been a long time, it's been like almost a year now, I've been healing a lot. I'm way physically healthier than I was just 12 months ago. And before I was on this diet, I was on the keto diet. As I heal, my body becomes more capable of fasting and more like willing to fast. At the beginning, there was no way I could fast. 2 to 3 years ago, I was in real bad health and I felt like I had to eat like every 4 hours minimum or I was just gonna fall over. Now I have days where I'm just like, I don't wanna eat, I'm good. So I think that fasting a lot of times kind of comes with health. If you haven't found your people, know that they might not be out there. And by that I mean they might not be out there as a group yet. A lot of times people feel like they haven't found their group because they're the ones that need to make a group. There's a lot of people out there that are told they need to go find their people, when if too many people are told, oh, you need to go out and find your people, then everybody's going to go looking for a group and nobody's going to make groups. So if you feel like you haven't found your people, then start living the best life you possibly can and magnetize people to you. Live a life that shows what you're about. Live a life that provides a context for others to join you. And that's really hard, but that's the real answer. Is if you truly want to have your tribe, then you make a tribe. Third world countries are in a really interesting position right now where they're still struggling by definition. But at the same time, there's opportunities for technological leaps that are absurd. The obvious one that people are doing these days is like a lot of third world countries never had telephone lines. They went straight from no phones, no telephone contact, to cell phone. And that kind of technological leap resulted in a ton of profit for some people. It resulted in a massive savings for the country itself. There was a lot of good that came from leaping like that. And there's tons and tons of things that can be done like that in third world countries right now. And if you're in any sort of position to observe what's happening throughout the world and figure out how to apply it to your country in a creative way, man, now's the time to do it, because there's so many things that third world countries can adopt right now that weren't possible like 10, 20 years ago. All of a sudden they're cheap now. So first world countries worked really, really hard to, they were very wealthy, so they put massive resources into developing technology. And first the technology was really, really inefficient. So like phone lines, a regular phone that you have a hard line to, those telephone wires are remarkably expensive and remarkably inefficient. So there's this massive savings of just skipping that technological jump. So if you can spot another trend like that where, oh, look, they've leveled up the innovation to a point where we don't even need to do the previous steps to level up our country. Even if you can do a tiny thing like that and where you live, you can change your situation massively. I'm gonna do some videos about my favorite books. My favorite book is Ender's Game. It's just the one that's really special to me. It's hard to say like what's the most beneficial book though, because for me that book was extraordinarily beneficial. It really helped me because I was a personality that needed to read that book. Other people need to read other books. Some of the top books that I'd recommend, though, are The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin, and then 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and then Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Those are really good places to get started in money, business, and learning. It's really hard to say there's one book that solves all the things because there's just so many elements to it. How do you practically make a tribe? People come near you because it's more benefit for them to be near you than it is for them to not be near you. And that might sound pretty simple, but it's the truth. So the more useful you can make it to be around you, the better. And that doesn't mean you need to constantly sacrifice yourself, constantly give until you have nothing left. It's not about that. You have a set of beliefs and actions that you do on a day-to-day basis that makes it worthwhile to be around you. And it can be different for different people. On one side, it could be as simple as you're a fairly consistently happy person and somebody else wants to be around a happy person. Okay, they get value out of being around you. Or maybe your life is on a fairly upward trajectory and you're determined to keep it that way. Well, if somebody else wants to have a life that's on an upward trajectory, it's in their interest to hang out with you. So that's a person who's a likely candidate to join your tribe. It can be any number of things, but the idea is it's more valuable for them to be with you than for them to not be with you.